Hello everyone and welcome back to the pond. My name is Frank, aka Bullfrog TCG, and today we are taking a look at Ezreal, Prodigal Explorer. So Ezreal is a deck that has been popping up every now and then, or here and there. It's usually played with the purple good stuff package with the Ezreal champion and the cold shots and the seals and the Razas and all that, just kind of churning through your deck. We are of course playing something a bit different. This deck is called Portal, and it revolves around the new card, or I mean the old card and the new card, Portal Rescue, and also the Ezreal signature spell, the Arcane Shift. They allow you to essentially blink one of your units. So these cards in combination with big stuff like Riptide Rex, Thousand-Dale Watcher, Munch Splitter, and Beast Below is kind of what the deck is. That's kind of the combo we're trying to go for here. I tried to build this deck in set 1 as well with Teemo. But back then we only had the Portal Rescue because of course the Arcane Shift was not released yet. But with the release of Arcane Shift and with the release of Fizz, we now have essentially up to 9 copies of those cards, which is a lot more consistent than just having 3. So yeah, but before we get into the deck list, if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more from me, then please take the time to leave a like and subscribe, and maybe even write a comment. It really helps to support the channel, and I will be forever grateful. So, Ezreal, Prodigal Explorer, is a legend in the Mind and Chaos domains. He has the ability Exhaust Me, reaction, draw 1, but use only if you've chosen enemy units and or gear twice this turn with spells or unit abilities. So, I mean, drawing cards in card games is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's going to get you so much value if you can get this ability off consistently. It does come with a certain deck restriction, I guess, because you do have to run a certain amount of just targeted cards in general, whether that be removal or just minus might abilities or bounce or whatever. But if you can do that, then this ability is going to get you so much value. And it's kind of silly to think about that this and Draven is printed in the same set, because they both draw a card, but Draven is not once per turn, and it's way easier to get off because of how combat works than this. So it is kind of silly to think that those were printed in the same set. But yeah, anyways. With the Ezreal Legend, we are of course running the chosen champion, the Ezreal Prodigy. So 3 energy, 1 power, 3 might. When you play me, discard 1, then draw 2. Optional additional cost you pay, cost 1 energy or 1 power less. So this card is, I mean, whenever you see an Ezreal deck, they're most likely going to be playing the Ezreal Prodigy because it is just such a good card. When you play it from the champion zone, you discard 1 and draw 2, so it's actually going to net you 2 cards. And especially if you play certain graveyard synergies, like that card you discard might become a resource later. And also just discounting the additional cost is really nice with the introduction of Repeat, because Repeat is an additional cost, so those are just going to cost 1 energy or a power less, so you can kind of be a bit flexible with that. And also it's going to discount Accelerate, which is nice, because that means that if you have this out and you're on 7 runes, you can accelerate the Thousand-Dale Watcher for just 7 energy and 2 power, which is pretty nice. But okay, for the rest of the units, we are playing 3 Plundering Poro, 2 energy, 2 might. When I conquer, play Gold Gear Token Exhausted. Getting gold early is really essential in this deck, because we do have, I mean, as you can see, we do play quite a bit of power-hungry cards, and just getting free power early is just really nice, because we do want to get to as many runes as we can as quickly as possible without having to sacrifice our big plays. We do still want to play out our big guys, but we'd rather keep our runes instead of keep recycling them. And then we're playing 3 Treasure Hunter, 2 energy, 1 might. When I move, play Gold Gear Token Exhausted. So these cards basically do the same thing. They create gold. Treasure Hunter's ability is a lot better because it triggers off this movement, so it doesn't care about you conquering or not. But of course, the Plundering Poro is a bit bigger. It's a 2 might instead of a 1 might, so it's going to survive a lot more than the Treasure Hunter is. But this package, these 6 cards, are essential in this deck, because we do play so many cards that recycle. So just mitigating some of that with these cards is just really nice. And then we're playing 3 Fizz, Trickster, 3 energy, 1 power, 3 might. When you play me, you may play a spell ephemeral trash with energy cost no more than 3 energy, ignoring its energy cost. And then recycle that spell after you play it, but you must still pay its power cost. So this card is so good. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, there's a card there called Snapcaster Mage. And that at one point was a $100 card. It's basically the same thing, you just replay a spell from your trash. This ability is just so good because it essentially makes it so that you have additional copies of all of your small spells, like your Gusts and Fight or Flights, and of course more importantly in this deck, the Portal Rescue and the Arcane Shift. You do have to recycle it, so you can't just keep blinking this endlessly. But I mean, just having additional copies of your small spells means that if you discard a Gust with the Ezreal, for example, you could always just get it back with a Fizz. So this card just makes it so that discard claws on the Ezreal doesn't really matter that much, because you can always just flash it back with a fizz. I keep saying flash it back because the Snapcaster Mage ability was called flashback. So that's kind of how, when I think about these kind of effects, that is kind of the word that pop into my mind. So yeah, when I say flashback, that is what I'm talking about, just playing a card from your trash. But yeah, really, really good card. And then we're playing 2 Riptide Rex, 6 energy, 2 power, 6 might. When you play me, deal 6 to an enemy unit at a battlefield. So this is kind of like a falling comet on a stick. This deck is all about like blinking our big units that have impactful abilities when they enter the battlefield, or enter the field, I guess, or the board. And this is one of the better ones, because this essentially is just like a falling comet on a unit, which is really nice. And what's nice about the fact that it is a unit means that it can't be countered. Like a lot of people are running the hard bargains right now, the hard bargains and defies and everything. It can be countered by not so fast, so that is something that you have to be aware of if you're playing against green. But outside of that, then this can't be countered, and that is like in this meta, a lot of people are just holding up 2 energy for the counter spell. And when you play a unit like this, they're like, oh wait, I can't actually react to that, and they can't fight or flight in reaction to this, they can't rebuke in reaction to this. So it's a tricky ability to get around, because most of the time people are expecting you to play like spells as removal, not this guy. And in this deck, where you can kind of just repeat that ability again and again and again, it becomes even better. And it trades really nicely into the Draven. Like this just takes care of Draven unless they have specifically Spinning Axe on it, because they could have the longsword, but that just makes it a 6 might unit, so it's not going to work. And then if they do have the Spinning Axe, we also play cards like the Stupefy to play around that as well. So yeah, this unit is just really nice, because 6 damage is such a significant number. It's going to take care of so many other things in the meta. So yeah, really good card. And then we're playing the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. We all know what this does. I mean, still one of the best cards in mind. And with the Ezreal, as I said, this can be accelerated for 7 energy instead of 8. Which means that if you're going first, you can play out the Ezreal and still be able to curve into the Thousand-Tailed Watcher on turn 4 if you want to, if that is something that you want to. We're also playing 1 Mind Splitter, 7 energy, 2 power, 7 might. When you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a card from it, and they discard that card. Really good ability against some decks. Against some decks, it's not going to do that much. If you're thinking about attacking and your opponent has runes up, you can play this first to kind of see what they have in their hand, and maybe remove their Fight or Flight or the Rebuke or whatever they wanted to use against you. A really nice card like that. And then of course we can't keep bouncing it to just rip more and more cards from our opponent's hand. I'm only playing this as one of, because I think the removal from the Riptide Rex and the Accelerate, which essentially is removal from the Watcher, is a lot consistently more powerful than the hand rip. But the hand rip is also very powerful, but I think it's not as good against certain decks, because if you are playing against an aggressive deck and you're kind of on the back foot and this is not going to help you, then this is just way too slow. And then for the final unit, we are playing 1 Beast Below, so 7 energy, 2 power, 8 might. When you play me, return another friendly unit and an enemy unit to their owner's hands. So I'm also running this as a one-of, because the thing about this one is that you can't play this out and return itself. You have to target another unit, so you do have to have a unit already developed on the field to activate this ability. But if you can do that, this becomes like a rebuke on an 8 might body. And it's even better than a rebuke, because this targets anywhere. So you can also bounce back your opponent's stuff in the base, which is really, really powerful. And it also has some synergy with the Fizz and the Ezreal, because if you bounce back one of these guys, then you can just play them out again and get the on-play effect again. Which is really nice. And I mean, you can also just bounce back your Riptides and you can't bounce back anything, but of course what you ideally want to bounce back is one of your smaller guys, like essentially the Fizz or the Ezreal. So yeah, I mean, this card is really, really powerful, but if we run into a deck that has a lot of removal and like they just keep getting rid of our small guys, then this is not going to do anything. It's just going to be a 7 energy, 2 power, 8 might body, which is not that good. So that is why we run this as a 1-of and then the Riptide Rex as a 2-of instead. But when you're like developed and you draw this late game, then this effect is so powerful. But let's take a look at the spells. So we are playing 3 Cold Shot, 0 energy, 1 power, action repeat. Look at the top 2 cards of our main deck, draw 1 and recycle the other. So this is kind of like the, I wouldn't necessarily say upgraded version, but at least like a developed version of Stacked Deck. It essentially does the same thing, but this costs a power instead of an energy, and you can repeat it. And of course the wombo combo synergy with this card is with the Ezreal, because if you have the Ezreal out, then you can repeat this for free. So it basically means that you're going to get 2 cards, you're going to look at the top 4, get 2 of those cards for 1 power, which is really, really powerful. So this is just an amazing consistency tool in Chaos. We're also playing 2 Stupefy, 1 energy, reaction, give a unit -1 might this turn, 2 minimum of 1 might, then draw 1. Really nice to, like, if, as I said, you play the Riptide Rex and your opponent has the Spinning Axe on the Draven, for example, you can just Stupefy in addition to that to just take care of the Draven. It also replaces itself, so it can be used to, like, if you've already targeted something on your opponent's side and you have 1 energy left, then you can just use this to draw a card and then also be able to draw a card with the Ezreal ability. So just essentially cycles there. And it's also nice to just be able to enable your Gust, for example, enable your Plundering Poro to beat over something, and, you know, all that. So yeah, just a really good card. And then we're playing the full set of Gust, 1 energy, reaction, return an enemy unit at a battlefield with 3 might or less to its owner's hand. This card is really, really powerful, especially if you're going second, because then you can develop your own, like, turn 1 play and then also have the Gust to be able to essentially flip the tables on your opponents and make it so that you get the first one instead of them. You can also in a pinch use it to bounce back your own Ezreal or a Fizz if you want those abilities to trigger again, like especially the Fizz. If you want to flash back one of your portal rescues, for example, you can just use the Gust to enable that. So yeah, just really powerful card. And then we're playing the full set of Retreat. 1 energy, reaction, return a friendly unit to its owner's hand. Its owner channels 1 rune exhausted. The key thing about a Retreat is, of course, that it's reaction speed, so you can use it to just protect your big guys from anything, basically. From like a removal spell, from a hidden blade, from a drag under, from a singularity if your opponent has that. Yeah, just a really powerful card. Because the thing about the Arcane Shifts and the Portal Rescue, like, you could pass your turn with one of these big guys and hold these cards up. But if your opponent has like an action speed removal, you can't use these to react with. So these are only good on your opponent's turn if your opponent is attacking into you. So that is why the Retreat is so nice, because you can use this to just save your guys. And of course when you use this you get 1 rune as well, so you kind of have more energy to play with on the next turn. Yeah, so just really nice card to protect your big guys. And also it can be used semi-aggressively, I guess, to just ramp if you have something you want to play into on the next turn. So yeah, just a solid card. We're playing 1 Bellows Breath, 1 energy, 1 power, action, repeat, deal 1 to up to 3 units at the same location. Like, one of the strategies we can struggle a bit against is decks that go really wide, like the Victor, for example, the new no unit Victor that also runs the 7 energy gear that just plays 3 units every turn. We can struggle a lot against that, so this is nice to just mitigate some of that. It can also be used to take care of your opponents, like Treasure Hunters, and you can also repeat it to take care of your opponent's Overzealous fans, or Plundering Poros, or Treasure Hunters, or, you know, a lot of stuff. We are only playing 1 in the main deck, because against certain decks this is not going to do anything. And if we want to, we have the option of playing it at additional time with the Fizz, if we feel that we need that. So yeah, really good card against some matchups, but not that good against others. And then we're playing triple Fight or Flight, one of the best cards in purple to protect your own guys, to move your opponent's guys back. It can also be hidden to get around cards like Falling Comet, for example, or just cards that target on battlefields in general. Really powerful card. And then of course the main cards in this deck is the triple Portal Rescue and the triple Arcane Shift. So Portal Rescue says 3 energy, 1 might, no, 3 energy, 1 power, action, banish a friendly unit, then play to base, ignoring its cost. And the Arcane Shift says the same thing, of 3 energy, 1 power, banish a friendly unit, then its owner plays it, ignoring its cost. So this can actually play units to anywhere, it doesn't have to be to the base. And it also deals 3 damage to an enemy unit at a battlefield, but you have to banish it when it resolves. So this ability is of course a lot better, but the Portal Rescue goes to your trash, so you can flash it back with a Fizz later. So these cards are kind of what the deck is built around. These cards in combination with the big powerful enter the ability effects like the Mind Splitter, the Riptide Rex, the Beast Below, and the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. One of the minuses with the Portal Rescue is that if you attack a battlefield and you want to bounce back your Mind Splitter, for example, you have to play it back to base. So you're essentially going to give up that battlefield for the next turn. But what's nice about the Arcane Shifts is that if you move your Mind Splitter into a battlefield and you also move in a Treasure Hunter, for example, you can just bounce the Mind Splitter, play it back into that battlefield to still be able to hold that battlefield when your opponent attacks. So this card is a lot better than the Portal Rescue, but of course it does banish itself. The deal 3 damage to an enemy unit is also really nice because it can be used defensively when your opponent is attacking into you. You can also use it to combo with the Riptide Rex to deal 9 damage to something, because this is going to deal 3, this is going to deal 6, and that is 2 targets that is also going to draw your card off the Ezreal. So this card in combination with the Riptide Rex in specific is really, really nice. And what's also cool about the Arcane Shift is that if your opponent happens to counter it it doesn't get banished, it goes to the trash. So that means that you can actually flash it back with the Fizz. So there's some extra, like, not really synergy I guess, but some payoff for actually having it countered is that you can flash it back. And one of the best things you can do with these cards is if you're on 12 energy, or if you have the Ezreal in play, if you're on 10 energy, then you can play out the 1000 Watcher, Accelerator, attack, and then play the Arcane Shift or the Portal Rescue on the Watcher, bounce it, play it, and use the Accelerate again to attack into the other battlefield. So you can potentially just go for the game on that turn, but of course that is a lot of setup because you do need 12 energy, or in case you have the Ezreal, because the Accelerator is going to be discounted, you can also do it for 10 energy. That is one of the funny things you can do. And we're also playing 2 Singularities, 6 energy, 2 power, deal 6 to each of up to 2 units. Just a really, really powerful spell, because sometimes the Riftbound Rex is going to be a bit lacking, because of course it does only hit at a battlefield, and it also only takes out 1 unit. So sometimes when it's more important to take care of your opponent's units than developing one of your own, then the Singularity is going to be a really, really good way of doing that. And then we're playing 1 Gear. We're playing 1 Orb of Regret. Now this might seem like a weird option, but I actually really like Orb of Regret in the deck, because it is essentially half of a legend ability every turn for free, and like once you play it out. And it also combos, I mean, essentially with everything, because it allows you to be able to gust your opponent's Draven or a Rumble, for example. It allows you to swing into a lot bigger stuff with all of your cards. It allows you to take care of a 7-might unit with a Riptide Rex. Like, this card just gets you so much incremental value throughout the game if you manage to develop this card early. If you find it late, it could also still do something for you. It essentially becomes like a Stupefy that just doesn't draw your card. Of course, the bad thing about this is that it can't be used on your opponent's turn. You have to use it on your own turn. But I mean, just for having that, just for giving you something -1 might whenever you want on your turn, and also just enabling your legend ability, I think 1 copy is actually really, really nice. And for the battlefields, we are of course running the Paper Tree. It is one of the best battlefields to ramp with, in my opinion, because you don't really care about your opponent getting this one, because you're still going to get the rune. And what's nice about that, like, if your opponent is the one holding this one, you're going to be the first one to benefit off that extra rune, unless your opponent just recycles it. But you're actually going to ramp with this, whereas your opponent is not going to ramp with it until the next turn again, because the rune enters exhausted. So that is also something to think about. And then we're playing the Treasure Hoard, another way of just getting gold, just mitigating some of that power cost, because as you saw, we're playing a lot of power in this deck, so just mitigating some of that early is just really nice. And then we're playing the Reaver's Row. The Reaver's Row is usually going to be our turn 1 play, or turn 1 battlefield, because this synergizes really, really nicely with the Treasure Hunter, because you can attack the Reaver's Row, get a gold, and then when your opponent attacks you back, you just move her back again, get another gold, and then, you know, just go from there. So yeah, just really nice battlefield on turn 1. For the runes, we are playing the 6/6 split, and for the sideboard, we are playing the additional copy of Bellows Breath in case we are running into the Unit Victor, for example, or the No Unit Victor, I should say, the Token Victor. We're also playing 2 Hard Bargain in case we do need the counter. I'm actually not playing the Hard Bargain in the main deck because, I mean, I go back and forth on this card so much. I know people love this card, but I think the fact that your opponent can play around this so easily is just what gets me every time. Because I feel like every time I have this in the hand, my opponent has like 4 runes up. So even if I repeat this, then they're still going to just be able to get out of whatever they're trying to do. Like if the Singularity, like yeah, you set them back 4 runes, but they still manage to take care of your guys. So I feel that this card is just, I don't know, like a lot of the times if you're playing the Singularities, I'd rather just play the Retreat, because the Retreat allows you to just hold one energy up, whereas the Hard Bargain you have to hold 2 or 4 energy up, or 3 I guess if you're playing the Ezreal. So yeah, but I do run it in the sideboard because some of the big spells like the Time Warps and stuff like that, like those cards we do really want to counter, but yeah, I'm not playing any in the main deck. And then we're playing 1 Rebuke in case we need another removal for big stuff. We're playing 3 Rocket Barrage, 4 energy, 1 power, repeat, and choose 1, deal 4 to a unit in a base, and kill a gear. So this is our way of removing gears. It also curves really nicely into Draven because it just snipes Draven from the base, which is nice if they just curve that out. And then for the final color, we are playing 1 additional Mind Splitter in case we're playing into a slower deck that tends to fill up their hand. This card is going to be really powerful against that. But yeah, that is Portal. We are going to jump into some games to see this deck in action. I really hope you enjoy them, and I will see you at the end for the wrap-up. Alright, we are playing some Portal Ezreal. We are playing against Draven for the first game. We are on the Paper Tree. Our opponent is on the Reaver's Row. So actually 2 battlefields that we like a lot. So let's see how this goes. We do have the turn 1 play into the Treasure Hunter. We draw into a Seal, a card we're not playing in the deck currently because I just couldn't fit it. There were some other cards I wanted to play instead of that. But it is certainly an option to play some seals. But with the gold generation from the Treasure Hunter and the Plundering Poro, I felt that the seal wasn't really necessary. But we're gonna go ahead and conquer the Reaver's Row, get a gold. Our opponent has nothing against that. We are actually gonna play out the Ezreal here. We don't really like recycling a rune on turn 2. But in this case we did draw into the Gust, which is really nice because that is gonna allow us to negate our opponent's conquer. Really nice draw there. But let's see what our opponent does. We do have the Riptide Rex, so that is going to be really nice to potentially take care of our opponent's Draven whenever he plays that out. Okay, plays out the Draven. And he stacked decks, okay. That is okay. If we had the Rocket Barrage here, that would be really nice. Okay, it's going to attack with the Treasure Hunter. We're going to use the Gust on the Treasure Hunter. Yeah, so this was a slight misplay. I should have, of course, just used the battlefield ability. Like the battlefield ability, move the Treasure Hunter back, get a gold, and then use the Gust. I shouldn't have stayed there because that essentially would have net us 1 extra gold. So that was a slight misplay there. But it works out anyways. Okay, we're gonna move the Treasure Hunter back. We get a point for holding. We draw into another Treasure Hunter here. We're gonna play that out, it seems like. Yes, we are. And then we're just gonna pass Terry. We don't really want to attack with the Ezreal because our opponent is just gonna attack into that with the Draven. We are still on 2 points, so we are kind of on our way to getting to 8 points in 3 turns. Yeah, like sometimes going from 2 to 3 points is not that important. And in this case, we'd rather want to just save the Ezreal instead of just dooming him. I mean, of course, we can use the Arcane Shift to bounce the Ezreal back, or bounce the Ezreal, but we don't really want to do that. He's a bit greedy. Okay, our opponent is going to attack into the Reaver's Row. He also plays out a Treasure Hunter and a Noxus Hopeful here. He does that. Okay, so now we are actually just going to go for the Riptide Rex, because even if he does have the Spinning Axe, we also have the Stupefy to take care of that. Yep, Riptide, the Draven. He's like, well, I can't hard bargain that. And no, you can't. That's what's so nice about these play abilities, is that your opponent can't counter them. Okay, it's gonna play out a Longsword. That doesn't do anything. Okay, it's gonna keep it to the Noxus Hopeful. Okay, that's fair. The Draven dies. That is really nice. Taking care of the Draven. Our opponent actually recycles a rune to equip the sword as well, but since it has Quick Draw, you don't have to do that, because the Quick Draw just equips it right away. Yes, sir. He gets that rune back. We attack with the Treasure Hunter, get another gold, get another point. And here we do attack with the Treasure Hunter, because going from 3 to 4 points is a lot more important than going from 2 to 3. And then we are just going to cycle that Stupefy to use the legend ability as well. We draw into another Riptide Rex, and we draw Frigid Touch. Another card I'm not currently playing, because I mean, again, this deck list is so tight. A lot of cards I want to fit in here, but the Frigid Touch is really nice. But I think I decided to swap the Frigid Touch out for the Retreat. I think that is the trade that I did. So yeah, I mean, this deck is not like, it's not done, so to speak. I mean, you can definitely make other card choices. Okay, he's gonna attack into the Reaver's Row. We are just gonna bounce back our Treasure Hunter here. He actually uses the Longsword there. I think that was a bit hasty. He should have waited to see if I activated the ability or not of the battlefield. But I guess he assumed that I wouldn't. Okay, he's gonna attack with the Noxus Hopeful into the Treasure Hunter here. We can't stop that. We can't really protect that, so we just have to let that go. Okay, we do have the Riptide Rex, so we can potentially just snipe this Noxus Hopeful here from our next turn. Our opponent does have a lot of energy up. Okay, plays an Overzealous Fan. Okay, we have the Arcane Shift, so we can potentially blink the Riptide Rex to just take care of both of those. Okay, pass back to us. We draw into another card we're not playing. I'm kind of making these videos as I'm editing the deck list. So sometimes you might see cards that I've tried at some point that I decided to cut. Okay, he tries to hard bargain that, and we're like, no sir, that doesn't work. That does not work. Oh, that's so good. Saying no to hard bargain. Tries to Rebuke. Yep, can't do that either. Rebuke is action speed. That doesn't work, sir. Our opponent is like, oh, fuck me. Yeah, Noxus Hopeful dies. That is really nice for us. And then what's funny now is that we could, if we wanted to, we could Arcane Shift to kill both the Overzealous Fan and the Treasure Hunter here. But yeah, that's probably not worth it. Yeah, we're gonna play the Fizz and use the Gust to just move back the Treasure Hunter, because if we attack into that, then he's gonna be able to move him back. And then we can just attack with the Treasure Hunter into the Reaper's Row, get a gold. Attack with the Ezreal, we assume that he's gonna bounce that back. Okay, that is gonna rebuke. Okay, you know what, that's fine. That is fine by us. We attack with the Riftbound decks, he's gonna use the ability to bounce it back, of course. And just like that, we cleaned up his whole board. We have 2 6-might bodies on the field. Run 5 points, we get a draw off the Ezreal, because we targeted 2 times here with the Gust and the Riftbound Rex. And we passed him. Yeah, we are looking very good now. He's gonna just play 2 Treasure Hunters out. Yeah, like just being able to get rid of that Draven early was so valuable for us. Because if that gets to live, then Draven is gonna get so much value off just keep drawing cards. And denying him that is very powerful. Okay, he's gonna equip the Longsword to the Treasure Hunter. He's gonna equip the other one as well. Okay, he's gonna equip the same one actually, okay. That is a 5-might Treasure Hunter. The chunkiest of Treasure Hunters. We draw into the Orb of Insight here. Not really gonna do anything for us here. We hold a point with the Treasure Hunter, we get another gold. So we have 2 active gold and 1 exhausted. We're gonna attack into the paper tree with the Riftbound Rex, go to 7. And we're gonna use the gold to use the Cold Shot. Yep, double gold there. And then we get a Portal Rescue and a Arcane Shift. So I mean, we're essentially gonna be able to just nuke whatever he plays out here, because we can deal, I mean, a total of 6 times 3 plus 3 times 3. So 27 damage here. He tries to attack with the Treasure Hunter. We're like, yeah, that's fine, dude. You can attack with the Treasure Hunter. And then our opponent attacks with this 5-might unit. He uses the Spinning Axe as well. That's fine. And that is going to be 8 might, which is perfect for our Arcane Shift to be able to deal 3 plus 6 might, or 6 damage. Gonna use that. We know he has the Hard Bargain in hand. And if he wants to counter that, then that's... Like now, this is what I'm talking about. Like he has the Hard Bargain, but I have 7 energy up. So even if he Hard Bargains now, I can just counter. Or I can just pay for it. I mean, in this case, I can just let it go and then just play another one. But now I can just pay for it, so the Hard Bargain doesn't really do anything. Unless he has like 3 Hard Bargains in his hand, I guess. But in that case, I can just counter. I can just pay for all of that. Yeah, we decided to let it go. We just play another one, because we are just that good at the game. We just keep drawing them. And well, yeah, we have the bottom deck that. Deal 3 and then 6, and he tries to rebuke again, and we're like, no sir. Action speed. Doesn't work. Treasure Hunter dies, which means that the Spinning Axe also dies. We get a draw of the Ezreal, we go for the Treasure Hunter. And then GG. Yeah, I mean... oh man, this deck is so much fun when it works. Like, I'll be the first one to say it's not the most competitive deck in the universe, but it is so much fun once you get the game plan going. Yeah, like, I mean, just drawing triple Arcane Shift with the Riftbound Rex on the board is just gonna nuke anything. But really, so like, that's what I don't like about the Hard Bargain, is that if your opponent plays their important spells first, then they're still gonna have energy up to just pay for the Hard Bargain. Like, don't get me wrong, Hard Bargain is a really good card against some decks. It in some situations, it's just a 2 energy counter anything. But a lot of the time, especially late game, when you have a lot more runes to work with, the Hard Bargain loses a lot of value. So yeah, okay, really good way to start off today. We beat the Draven, and yeah, let's see if we can get the wins going. Okay, and game 2 is going to be against Volibear. We are on the Treasure Hoard. Our opponent is on the Obelisk of Power. We have a pretty good opening hand here with the turn 1 Treasure Hunter into, I mean, something else. We draw into the Mind Splitter. That could be good later on. The Fighter Flight is also going to be really good against Volibear to just move back his big guys. Okay, so he plays the Herald of Scales, which means he's on the Dragon package. That's interesting. I haven't actually tried the Dragon package in Spiritforged yet. We're going to get the gold, we're going to get the point, and we're going to get another gold from the battlefield. We don't really want to play out anything here because we want to curve into Mind Splitter on turn 2. Or, I mean, turn 3. Okay, we're going to Fighter Flight the Dragon. And it's going to attack with the Herald. Okay, that's fine. If we can take care of the Herald, that's very good. That is going to set him back quite a bit. Okay, we draw another Riptide. Okay, that's fine. We kill that. Pass to him. Having the second Riptide is pretty nice because that means we can take care of this as well. And we also have the Portal Rescue, which means we can take care of 2 things. Okay, that's a new card, the Dire Wing. That is unfortunately a bit too big for us to kill with a Riptide Rex, but that's okay. We're not in a hurry. We can take it slow. Okay, as the punch first. That is, I mean, a bit annoying. But we do have the Portal Rescue here, so we are actually gonna be able to play both Riptides. We're gonna take care of the Direwing instead, because I mean the Scorcher is smaller, like on its own, whereas the Direwing is actually bigger than both our Riptide Rexes. We draw into the Cult Shot with the Ezreal Legend ability, and we pass to him. The Cult Shot is nice. I mean, Beast Below is gonna be really good in this matchup. Okay, play some Mobilize. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really do much here. Like if he played a Mighty Unit and ramped with the Volibear, that would also get him to 12 runes next turn, so then he could have used it as a draw spell, but I guess he didn't want to do that. Okay, I placed out another Herald. Okay, and then he passes back to us. Well, I mean, not moving the Blazing Scorcher back there signifies to me that he has something in his hand, like a Punch First, so we are going to play the Mind Splitter first to potentially take away that card. And yes, that is a Punch First, and a I don't remember the name of that card, but the one that draws you for each Mighty card you have. Yeah, that is just allows us to swing cleanly into that Blazing Scorcher. We get a gold. We go into the other battlefield. I mean, we could have held up one energy for the Gust, but I mean, he's probably not going to attack into us with the Herald of Scales. And if he does that, then we could just Gust it on the next turn. So yeah, getting the gold feels a bit better there. Okay, let's see what he does. Okay, he's tapping a lot of energy here. Okay, just place on the Volibear. That's fine. That is fine. We have the Show of Strength is the name. Okay, so replace that, draws 1. I mean, that's a pretty bad Show of Strength. Just 2 energy, 1 power, draw 1. Okay, we're drawing to a Portal Rescue. Okay, we'll let out for the Ezreal. I actually exhaust 2 runes here for some reason. Of course, I have to pay 3 for that, but I guess in my head I was thinking that gold was also a rune. But of course, that is not the case. Let's see if it matters. I hope it doesn't, because in that case my cheating is not actually going to accomplish anything. But okay, we move both of our sharks back. We do play the Portal Rescue just to see what he has in hand. Then we also have the Arcane Shift in case we need to do that again. Yeah, we're gonna Mind Splitter, see what he has. He has a... Okay, has a Dune Drake and an Eager Drakehound. Yeah, okay, that is fine. That hand is nothing too important. We're gonna Cold Shot twice to find a Pora and a Gust together. Those are 2 very bad cards here. We actually decided to go for the Gust just in case we, because now we know he has the Drake count, he has the Herald of Scales. I mean, we could get some value out of it. The Poro is not really going to do much for us here, and then we get a Stupefy, which, yeah, I mean, could come in handy. It's basically a free draw for us, and then we pass to him. So let's see here. Okay, I place the Dune Drake, and then I place the Drake count. Okay, that's okay, and then it just passes. Okay, so in the end, our little cheat there didn't actually matter in the end. He didn't attack with anything, which, I mean, I kind of get why I did it, because we can attack into anything that he has. But I mean, from this position, he's basically he's never gonna be able to come back from this, because we have 4 units on the board and what, 7 cards in hand, and he has 4 units on the board and no cards in hand. So yeah, this is pretty much over already. But let's see what we do towards the end here. I mean, we can attack with basically anything. We attack with a Mind Splitter, we attack with a Shark. And then we play out the Fizz. Fizz just to flash back the Cold Shot, draw 2 more cards. Again, a slight misplay. That Cold Shot is supposed to be recycled, not go back to the trash, but it's not going to matter in the end. Yeah, so this game is actually a game that I decided to play pretty late on, because I noticed that one of my games had a very severe misplay from my opponent, so I couldn't actually use that clip. So I'm kind of in a hurry to just finish this game, which is why I forgot to recycle that Cold Shot. But okay, we pass back to him. Now we do have the Fight or Flight, we have the Gust, and then we also have the Arcane Shift to potentially bounce the Fizz to Fight or Flight again from the trash. So that is kind of our game plan here. That is also one of the reasons why we played off the Fizz, because then we could have that Fight or Flight ready. Okay, attacks with the Drakehound. I mean, attacking with that alone is not going to come to anything, so he has something in hand here. And that is going to be a Sky Splitter. Okay. Sky Splitter deals 5 damage to us, but we can Gust the Eager Drakehound here, and then the combat is going to end and all damage is going to be healed. So that actually didn't accomplish anything. Yeah, this seems like a pretty good matchup for us. Okay, attacks with that. I mean, he has to attack with something else. Yeah, he doesn't realize the damage is healed now, but that is just how combat works in this game. That is also why Draven is able to draw cards even though he doesn't necessarily fight anything. Okay, attacks with Herald as well. Just kill that Riptide Rex. And then he just has to gamble that we don't have anything to stop his Volibear here. But of course we do have that. We have the Fight or Flight, so we just pay double deflect, Fight or Flight the Volibear, and then he insta disconnects. Okay, yeah. I don't know how good the Dragon Volibear is. I haven't tried him yet. This seems like a pretty bad draw for him, but also the Mind Splitter was very devastating for him, us being able to take away the punch first. The second Mind Splitter didn't really accomplish anything. He only had like a second Dune Rake. Like again, you see the power of the ability to like blink your stuff. Like we didn't have to Mind Splitter, we could, and Mind Splittering for 3 energy is pretty good because it just gets us so much value. But yeah, another good game. And our third game is going to be against another Ezreal. We are again on the paper tree, so again I'm pretty bad at distributing these battlefields. Our opponent is on the Mirai Spire, and this game was a grind. As you can see down here, or probably you can't, this video is 31 minutes long. So I am going to cut quite a bit from here because there was a lot of thinking in between, but this game is a grind fest. And but yeah, if you want to skip it then go ahead, but this one is a good one. But okay, let's see how it goes. We are on the play again. We are going to lead off with the Plundering Portal. We're going to join to the Riptide Rex, which could be good later on. Our opponent just passes no turn on play, which is really nice for us. Now we just hope he doesn't have a Gust. We attack with the Plundering Portal. Okay, that's the Wages of Pain. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We just Gust our guy. We don't want to lose him. We're just going to play him out again. And maybe that wasn't worth it. Maybe it was better to save the Gust for something else, but because he left 3 energy open, we kind of assumed that he had something. So we decided to just save that, and then, I mean, he's still gonna get the gold, but we decided to keep our units because, as I said, we don't really want to play our power costed cards yet, like our Fizz. Like our Fizz doesn't do anything, and the Ezreal, we don't need to play him yet. Okay, he plays out his own Ezreal. We're going to the Watcher. Okay, we're gonna try to get 1 point here. We do get a point, we get a gold as well. And now we do play out the Ezreal. If we can draw into the Cold Shot, we cannot. Then we would have probably used that as well, but we didn't find it. But okay, we are gonna play the Treasure Hunter and just pass him. We decided to just sacrifice this Plundering Portal because, I mean, the only way we could protect the Plundering Portal is by using the Fight or Flight or the Arcane Blast. But doing it like this, like, we kind of want him to leave the Ezreal on the board or on the battlefield because then we can snipe it with the Riptide Rex. But okay, he uses the Cold Shot, repeated of course. And Mirai Spire is also an interesting battlefield in Ezreal, especially if we're playing more repeat cards. We're not really playing that many, so it doesn't really do that much for us. Okay, he plays a Bellows Breath here. He actually targeted a bit wrong here. He wasn't going to target the Plundering Portal. He was going to target the Ezreal and the Treasure Hunter, so we're just going to fast forward a bit. Yep, like that. And then he uses the Stupefy to take care of the Ezreal. Then he attacks into the Plundering Portal, so we actually manages to clear up our whole board here. Plays a Rainbloom Student, but we can play out the Riptide Rex here. Kill the Ezreal. Yeah, that's good for us. And then past him. We don't have the retreat, so in case he has like a Singularity, he can still take care of this Riptide Rex, but at least we took care of his Ezreal. Yeah, this Ezreal versus Ezreal is gonna be a grind no matter what. Like, we're playing a pretty untraditional version of the deck, but for now we're managing to keep up. Okay, he plays a Seal and then a Raza. We're gonna conquer the tree here. We're gonna play the Treasure Hunter. Do we have anything we want to do? We kind of want to develop another body here, but we don't really want to waste the Fizz either, because the Fizz doesn't really get us anything. Yeah, we just decided to pass here. Now what we really want is for him to attack with the Ravenbloom Student first, and then attack with the Raza, so that we can use the Arcane Shift on the Riptide Rex to kill both of those. Unless he has like a double spell to make the Rainbloom a bit bigger. Okay, it's gonna play a Singularity. Yeah, that is why we run the retreats, because Singularity is really good against our Riptide Rex and our Treasure Hunter, I guess. Okay, attacks with the Raza here, and then just past us. Okay, it doesn't want to attack with the Rainbloom Student, but okay, I mean, here we kind of have to go for the Watcher and pray that he doesn't have a Fight or Flight or a Rebuke up. Yep, attack here. Do you have anything? Okay, you don't. Okay, that's good for us. So we managed to get that point. We're thinking about hiding the Fight or Flight here, but we're like, well, I mean, that Frigid Touch is probably not going to do anything for us either. So he can play his own Watcher here, but in that case we have the Fight or Flight. He's going to play another Seal and the Fizz. The Fizz is going to get Wages of Pain, okay. Deals 3 damage, which means that he probably has enough to take care of that. But the Rainbloom grows to 3. He plays the Arcane Shift. And then he, I mean, yeah, so it wasn't dead there. But he's definitely just gonna blink the Fizz and then just play the Stupefy from the trash. So yeah, so in that case it was actually a good idea to just to hide the Fight or Flight. But yeah, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But oh well. We're going to a Gust. That is not gonna do much for us. I mean, we essentially just have to play out the Fizz here to have something developed. But I mean, even though he's kind of massacred our board, he's still only on 2 points. And we're on 1 point, or I mean 3 points. So we actually play out the Fizz without using anything from the trash. Because we don't really have anything to use, or that we want to use. There is an argument for just using the Frigid Touch there. Just to like draw off the Ezreal. But it's probably not that good. We can use the Arcane Shift here to just kill the Fizz. Now here we decide to do that instead. We Arcane Shift, deal 3 to the Fizz, and then we play the Fizz, and then we play the Gust from the trash, try to bounce back the Rainbloom. Okay, we do that. Okay, so we at least deny him some points, we clear up his board. He's of course just going to be able to redevelop. We have to bottom deck the Gust, of course, which we forgot. Okay, plays a Cold Shot. Double Cold Shot, as is tradition. Yeah, his hand is looking very healthy here. I wish we had some Cold Shots. But okay. He's gonna play Ravenbloom. Play another Ravenbloom. Stack deck. Okay, so he's churning through his deck here. He has 19 cards left in his deck. We have 27. And it is like, we only targeted once, right? And we're like, no, we do not. Arcane Shift and Gust. Okay, we draw into the Stupefy. That is a free draw. We get a point with the Fizz, we just pass back to him. So I mean, hilariously, we are actually in the point lead. So if we draw really well here, then we could potentially win in 2 turns. But that is probably very unlikely. He's gonna stack deck again. He's gonna Morbid Return, okay. He's gonna get back, I didn't actually see what he got back. Probably a Raza. Okay, we're gonna Stupefy the Rainbow. That goes to a 3. Here Frigid Touches. What's nice about the Gust is that that's a reaction, so we can actually do that in response before the Ravenbloom grows. So we Gust that, back to his hand, and yeah, I mean the Fizz is a 1. We're gonna draw off the Ezreal, draw into a Seal. Here we could have the Frigid Touch ourselves. We could also use the Arcane Shift, but that doesn't really do anything because the Ravenbloom is a 5. We decide to, we're just gonna Fight or Flight our own guy back, and then potentially just attack back into him on our following turn. Okay, yep, Rainbloom, Raza, okay. Okay, we're going to another Fizz. Yeah, we are struggling a bit to find our big guys here, but we are miraculously still in this. Okay, we swing over the Ravenbloom as we wanted. Okay, we're gonna Stupefy to cycle 1, draw 1, draw a Cold Shot, and that is probably the best card we could have drawn. Double draw here. Yes sir, Cold Shot please, thank you. Do you want to hard bargain that? Okay, we do it. We get the hard bargain and the Cold Shot. We decided to get the hard bargain. I think it was probably correct to go for the Cold Shot there. And we get the Mind Splitter. We could also have gotten the Beast Below, but I think the Mind Splitter is just gonna be a bit better here, because we can just eat at his hand. Okay, let's see what he has. He definitely has a hard bargain in hand, I would assume. He has an Annie, a Watcher, a Downwell, Bellows Breath, and a Beast Below. We decided to go for the Beast Below because he is ahead of us in terms of units on the board, and we don't really want him to 1-for-1 us like that. Okay, Beast Below goes, and then we just pass back to him. Yeah, the Downwell could be a problem here. I mean, we have both the Arcane Shift and the Portal Rescue in hand, so we can potentially play the Mind Splitter 2 more times, but I mean, that is probably not worth it. Okay, place on Annie here. Now if he Downwells here, that would be amazing. Okay, Singularity, like here again, Singularity, we have the hard bargain. He has 2 energy left, so we can just pay for that. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Singularity is gonna take care of the Fizz and deal 6 to the Mind Splitter. Did he draw Stupefy? Oh no, never mind, he has a Bellow Breath. Okay, well we can actually hard bargain that. So okay, the hard bargain actually did come in handy there, funnily enough. Okay, he's gonna get 2 more points. And he's on 6. And we know he has a Watcher in hand. He also has a Downwell. We kind of have to get rid of the Watcher here because we can't allow him to just swing into our Mind Splitter. So I actually do have to play the Arcane Shift, even though that feels really bad. Now here, I think that was a mistake. I think I should have, whoops. I think I should have played the Fizz. I think I should have played the Fizz first and then play the Mind Splitter. But of course I didn't do that, so. Okay, we're gonna take a look at this hand again. Yeah, we have to take that Watcher. Retreat doesn't do anything, the Downwell is a problem, but now we also have to think about what we're gonna do on his turn, because he can still conquer both battlefields with the cards he has. So now we're gonna play out the Fizz. And the reason we play out the Fizz is we're gonna Stupefy to get a draw off, or get 2 draws off. And then now, it's kind of similar as the previous game, we want to use the Portal Rescue on the Fizz to Fight or Flight to one of his guys. That is our plan here. So let's see what happens. Okay, I place his Decktech. Attacked with the Raza. That is fine. And we know what he has in hand. We know he didn't have a hard bargain. Like there are 2 cards we don't know about. Or 1 card we don't know about, I guess. He's gonna attack there, so we know he doesn't have a hard bargain. Unless he drew into that. We're gonna Portal Rescue here. Okay, that goes through. We are going to gust that. Okay, not Fight or Flight. And I mean, here he is basically forced to use the Downwell. Yeah, that is gonna do it. But the bad thing is that he can play the Raza for free, which is not good for us. We do still have the option of like playing Fizz and then having the Portal Rescue to now we can use the Portal Rescue. No, the Fight or Flight, I mean. We draw into a Called Shot, which could draw us into something. Yeah, we're gonna float 2. Gonna play the Cold Shot. Pretty sure you don't have the hard bargain. Nope. Okay, we're gonna look at 2. We're gonna find an Arcane Shift and a Fight or Flight. We are definitely gonna take the Fight or Flight here. And we're gonna take the Watcher. So now we actually have the option of playing out the Watcher, attacking, and then we have to hide the Fight or Flight. And this is kind of like, okay, now we just have to hope that he didn't get anything, because what he had in his hand is not going to do it. He needs something more. He's drawn a lot of cards here. What did he get? He got a Frigid Touch. That is not going to do it. That's not good enough. And then he also had a Wages of Pain. Okay, yep. That is unfortunately going to be enough. Oh man, that was such a grind. It would have been so fun to win that game. We were so close. Like getting that Watcher off the top was exactly what we needed. And the Fight or Flight. We drew the exact 2 cards we needed. And then so did he. Yeah, really fun game. And I'm sure like when you look back at this game, like, or when you're watching this game, after you watch this game, there are probably a bunch of times where I could have done something different. But yeah, like that's what I like about Riftbound and also this deck, but Riftbound in general, is that there are so many moments where you have to decide. There's so much decision making that can make or break the game. And that's what I like. I like card games that reward skillful play and also thoughtful play and just like thinking through your moves and just sequencing correctly. And this deck is just, I mean Ezreal in general, but I think especially this deck is just the king of that. So yeah, we did lose, but really, really close and a really fun game as well. And game 4 is going to be against Fiora. We are on the Treasure Hoard, our opponent is on the Orange Forge. And our opponent is playing the Orange Fiora, the body Fiora this time, which is not the traditional option. But let's see how this goes. Okay, we are on the draw here. We don't have a turn 1 play. Okay, our opponent plays out the Unsung Hero. We just had to pass here, just to give ourselves the chance of potentially playing the Gust. I think because we're playing against Fiora, and they really want to have the BF Sword on turn 2, I think it was actually correct to just play out the Ezreal there. But in this moment I thought that, okay, I want to give want to give myself the chance to Gust his Unsung Hero. But as you can see, that was not the correct move, because he did of course have the BF Sword, so we just have to pass here. Yeah, he gets a point. And he does ramp as well. Okay, bit of an awkward sequencing, but okay. We draw into the Riptide Rex. That is very, very interesting. We decide to now play out the Ezreal. We're gonna discard the Gust. That's probably not gonna do anything because he's gonna have a bunch of gears. Draw into a Stupefy and a Riptide Rex. And because we did that, now we actually decide to, okay, so we don't want to play the Riptide Rex on the next turn, because we don't want him to get the draw. So what we think now is that, okay, we're gonna Cold Shot, go down to 3 runes, draw into something hopefully, and then on the next turn we're not gonna play the Riptide Rex. We're gonna stay on 5 runes, and then on the next turn again we're gonna play Riptide Rex plus Stupefy to shrink the Unsung Hero down to 4, kill that so it doesn't get 2 cards. That is kind of our thought process here. So it is very risky because you could just equip that with something else. But usually you don't really want to like keep pumping up your unsung hero. Like 5 energy is kind of what you want to, where you want to be. We decided to get the Plundering Poro, that's a perfect draw. And we decided to get the Watcher as well, because that is, you know, the Watcher. Plundering Poro is perfect, because we get to develop 2 bodies there. He's gonna Vengeance the Ezreal. Okay, that is, we are fine by that. If he wants to spend that on the Ezreal, then that is okay by us. Okay, place out a Poro. And then we're like, okay, well, we have to pay 2 runes for that. Okay, it does. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, it does. Okay, so place out a Warmog Armor. So, okay, so he could have done this. He could have stayed at the battlefield and then played the Warmog's Armor for 0. But in the end, he would have been able to do the same thing. And we're just like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, we're going to the Fizz here. As I said, we don't want to play out anything that costs power, because our plan is to go for the Riftbound Rex next turn. We're just going to attack with the Poro, get 2 gold, and then we're actually just going to pass here. This might not be the correct play, but in my head this makes a lot of sense, because he's probably not going to equip that Unsung Hero with anything else. And if we can deny him drawing 2 cards, then we're going to take that. And getting that double gold there means that we can play the Riftbound Rex for free. Okay, it's going to play off the Fiora. It's going to attack with Unsung Hero. We're not going to use the Superfy. Not that I would have done anything there unless we do something else. We're going to sacrifice the Poro. The Poro got us the double gold, which is what we wanted him to get. And he gets a gold. That is okay. The gold, of course, enters exhausted, not ready. Okay, he equips the Doran's Blade to the Fiora. He ramps 1. Yep, that's fine. Then he attacks with a Poro. Yep, you can have that. Okay, equips the Warmog's Armor to the Fiora. That's fine. Okay, and yeah, here we go. We can do it. We stupefy the Unsung Hero. So we play the Riptide Rex, kill the Unsung Hero. He doesn't get 2 draws. And then we passed him. I mean, we are in the point. I mean, he's ahead of us by a lot in terms of points. He's on 5 points, we're on 1 point. But if we can untap here, then we have powerful plays. We have a lot of stuff we can do. We can Watcher, we can Riptide Rex again. We can Fight or Flight. Okay, he has all the gears in the world here. Plays a Doran's Blade for 1 since he controls the Orm's Fort. He attacks with a Fiora. Yep, he gets a gold. So I mean, we are in a very risky spot. But a risky play paid off in the end. And now we can just hopefully draw the correct cards to actually be able to win this. But okay, he is going to get a buff on the Fiora. He is going to equip the sword to the Poro. Yep, get a rune. And the best okay, we draw the retreat. That is interesting. The Fiora is a 7 here. So what we can actually do is we can play the Fizz and then use the Stupefy from the trash. And then Riptide Rex again on the Fiora. And that is what we're going to try to do. We just hope that he doesn't have a riposte here. Like in that case, you should always play the Stupefy first to check for a riposte, because the Stupefy by itself is not really a riposte target. But if you play the Riptide Rex first and then you Stupefy, then it's like, okay, well, this Stupefy is just going to kill my unit. I'm definitely going to riposte that. But just a Stupefy by itself is not really that scary. But okay, didn't counter that, and I mean, he can't counter the Riptide Rex. So unless he has something like a Call to Glory here, then that is just going to kill the Fiora. Okay, yeah, we managed to kill that. That is very good. We attack into the Orange Forge here. We decide to hide the Fight or Flight because, yeah, I mean, we don't really want him to die to the Poro. We go into a Singularity of the double choose there. We were a bit late with the ability, but we did choose twice. Once with the Stupefy and once with the Riptide Rex. Yeah, I mean, so far we're hanging in there. All of our plans have kind of worked out the way we wanted them to. And it seems like he's kind of fluttered on equipment here. We're going to try to Fight or Flight the Veteran Pro. Yep. He does not have anything for that. Then he's going to play out a Yoni. Okay, that might be dangerous. The Yoni is going to be able to snipe something from our base here, or at our base here. Which hilariously is really easy to play around. Because if you have units at the battlefield, then his ability is not going to trigger. If there was a way to get him in accelerated, then that would be a totally different story. But okay, we draw into a second Singularity here. So he's on 6 points. We don't really want him to attack into our guys here. So we decide to, you know what? We're gonna go for it. We're gonna play our outs. And our outs is the Beast Below being one of our top 2 cards. Because we're on 7 runes, which means that we can cast the Beast Below. But we only have 3 Chaos runes. Which means that we can't repeat the Cold Shot. So we just kind of have to go for that. Let's see if he's on top. And yes, yes he is. The Beast Blow is on top. That's really good for us. That is gonna just allow us to get both battlefields and then just bounce back the Beast Below with the... No, bounce back the Yoni with the Beast Below. That is such a tempo swing for us. That is so good. Unfortunately, we can't use the Ezreal because we only targeted his units twice, or once, I mean. Okay, we get back the Fizz as well, which, I mean, doesn't really do anything here because we already have 2 Fizz in hand, so we have the whole set in our hand. He's just gonna play out the Yoni again. He's not gonna ramp off that, which I think he ramped on the first time he did that, but he can't ramp with the Yoni because that is already a 5-mat unit. So he is gonna have to send that back. Okay, he's gonna equip here. Okay, well that Poro does actually ramp from. He's gonna play another Warmock's armor. Yeah, he is very flooded on equipment here, unfortunately for him, and it's so nice that we denied him that value from Unsung Hero, so it didn't get to draw 2. Yeah, so you do get one of that. Again, the gold is not entered ready, but maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, so we draw into the Portal Rescue here, which is hilarious because that means that we can bounce the Beast Below back and then bounce his Yoni back again. That is hilarious. Okay, we're gonna attack with double Croc here, risking it. If he happens to have anything here, then we can potentially use the Portal Rescue to kind of do something here. But we risk it. We try to just swing both in here, sacrificing one of our crocodiles, or one of our sharks, I guess. And then we want to Beast Below. Okay, yeah, that works. We get a point. And now we can just play out the Poro and then Portal Rescue. Yep, we go here. We play out a Poro. And then Portal Rescue. Bounce the Beast Below back. Or bounce him up and down. And then, yeah, bounce the Oni back again. And then Poro back again. And yeah, that is very good for us. We set him back. We basically set his whole turn back. And what's nice now is that if we like plays out the Oni and then has a first mate, he can attack into the Riptide Rex, kill that. But since that is not an empty battlefield, he can't actually shoot our Beast Below from the base, which is really nice. And depending on what he does here, like we could also potentially just use this retreat when he attacks, if he gets to attack, to move the Beast Below back and then, you know, do that whole thing again. Or move the Riptide Rex back. Okay, no, never mind. A lot of stuff happened there. Let's see at the end. I was just rambling. Yeah, so we played the Beast Below. No, he played the Yoni, he played the Fiora, and that's all his rune gone. He can't attack us, and yeah, we just win. So, sometimes you risk it for the biscuit, and sometimes that pays off. We decided to not do anything on turn 1, which turned out to be a mistake. On turn 2, we played the Ezreal. And turn 3, we didn't do anything, because we wanted to play the Riptide Rex with the Stupefy on turn 4. So that we could take care of his Unsung here without him drawing any cards, and that actually worked out for us. He got really equipment flooded here. He got 6 equipments and like 4 units, I think. Poro and 2 Fioras and the Oni. So yeah, a bit of an unlucky draw for him, but I mean we take those. The Beast Below came clutch in the end there. Just finding that off top is so nice. But yeah, good game, another win, and let's go for the final one. And for the final game today, we are playing against Azir. We are on the Reaver's row. Our opponent is on the Triferian War Camp, because of course they are. Yeah, let's see how this goes. Let's see if we can end off with a bang. Okay, we draw into a retreat. We're gonna lead off with a Treasure Hunter. Very good turn 1 play, especially with the Reaver's row. Does our opponent have an equipment? They have the Guardian Angel. Okay, Guardian Angel plus a Sand Soldier. I'm not really sure about the Guardian Angel in the Azir deck. I mean, it is a nice gear, but it's kind of wasted on the Sand Soldier. Well, yeah, maybe he knows something that I don't. He decides to equip it as well, which means that he's going to line up very nicely into our Gust here. Unless he goes into the Triferian War Camp. Okay, we're going to attack with a Treasure Hunter, get gold. We draw into an Arcane Shift. We're just going to play out the Ezreal. We're going to discard the retreat. Let's just go for that. And draw into a Riptide and a Cold Shot. Now we do have the Gust. He decides to attack into us. We decide to move the guy back, then Gust his unit. So it's nice that he didn't attack into the Triferian War Camp there, because in that case we wouldn't have been able to Gust, but it didn't matter because he had the Defy anyways. But okay, that's fine. We get the Defy out of him. So we can't Defy our more impactful guys. He's gonna play Desert Call. Okay, that's fine. That is actually fine. Then he's gonna hide a card. Okay. We go into a second Arcane Blast. We're gonna Call Shot. First of all, repeated Arcane Shift and a Riptide Rex. We don't really need the Beast Blow here. Beast Blow is good against big few units, not that good against a lot of small units. Riftbound Rex is slightly better in that case. Okay, Arcane Shift. We're gonna try to bounce Ezreal back and then kill his Sand Soldier. He's gonna flip over guards to create another Sand Soldier. Yeah, so this scenario is not what should have happened. Either the Guardian Angel would die, or he would have to equip the Guardian Angel to the Sand Soldier here. Now I didn't notice that until it was too late, and then it kind of worked out the same way in the end. But in this case, he would have either had to equip the Guardian Angel to this guy, or the Guardian Angel would have died, and the Sand Soldier that he had there would have been bounced back to the base. But anyways, we get the bounce on the Ezreal. We play him back, discard one of the Riptide Rexes. Then we're down to another call shot and a treasure hunter here. We decide to call shot again. Yeah, let's go for it. Draw Singularity and a Portal Rescue, and a Retreat and a Plundering Portal. We decided to go for the Retreat here. It is nice to have some protection, at least when you're, especially when we're going to play out our bigger guys. We decided to fight or flight the Sand Soldier because we want to get the point with the Treasure Hunter and the gold, and even if he does decide to attack into that, we can just bounce her back with the Reaver's Row. And we actually draw into the Orb of Insight with the Ezreal as well, which is nice. Okay, he's gonna call a weak. Well, okay, Treasure Hunter is dead, unfortunately. He is unfortunately dead, or she is unfortunately dead. He's gonna attack with the Sand Soldier into the Reaver's Row, get a point. Equip the Guardian Angel, move the Guardian Angel and the Sand Soldier over to the Teferian War Camp. Yep, that's fine. And like, this is what I mean. Like, the Guardian Angel is, I mean, I don't know. It might be good. I haven't tried it in this year, but in my head it just feels like it's a bit wasted on the Sand Soldiers. But okay, it's gonna pass to us with 3 runes up. Not gonna do anything. We're gonna attack with the Ezreal. Does he want to do anything here? I mean, I assume he wants to bounce that back. Okay, he's gonna thwonk. Okay, well that sucks. We're not gonna get that point. We decide to actually Riptide Rex here. Yep, kill that. No point in it killing the one with the Guardian Angel, because the Guardian Angel is just gonna die anyways. Okay, it's gonna play out the BF Sword. That's a very good equipment. So he's gonna be able to activate his legend ability here. Yep, create a Sand Soldier. That is gonna become a 5-might unit. Okay, passes there. We could potentially Singularity those guys. We're gonna at least conquer both battlefields. We decided to go with a smaller unit into the Reaver's Row. And yeah, we decided to just Singularity. Let's take care of, I mean, clear up half his board, I guess. And then we draw into a Mind Splitter. Well, that's nice. Might not do much here, but, you know. We could have played out the Orb of Regret. We decided to instead just keep the Retreat up, in case we want to use that. Because if he can attack into a Riptide Rex, then we do want to save that. Okay, he's gonna play out the Eye of the Herald. Yep, gonna activate the Azir. Equip that. If he doesn't play his last card here, then we could potentially just go for the Mind Splitter. Because in my head I'm thinking like that's probably the Arise, the Azir signature spell. Okay, attacks into the Ezreal. We're just gonna bounce him back. Yep, he gets a point. Goes to 5. And then he plays, okay, plays the Azir. Okay, well that's not what we expected. That is not what we expected at all. I mean, we don't really have options. Yeah, we're just gonna retreat this. Get another rune, because we thought about just letting that go, like just killing his Azir or killing his Sand Soldier. But since we retreated that, now we went to 6 runes, which means that next turn we're going to be on 8 runes, which means we can just play the Watcher and swing into this battlefield next turn. So that is why we retreated. And also just keeping the Riptide Rex safe is also nice, of course. But that's the ramp from the retreat is the main reason why we did that. Okay, we're going to another retreat. Okay, well that's going to be nice at some point, I guess. Yep, which actually now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't actually have to do that because we have the Ezreal. So the Accelerate would have actually cost 1 energy less, or a power less, which I forgot here. Because I've never really played the Accelerate with the Ezreal before. So in this case I should have actually had 1 rune or 1 power, like I should have had either 1 active rune or 1 exhausted rune more. So yeah, small misplay there, but I don't think it's going to matter in the end. We are going to attack here. And yep, both of those guys die. We get a point. And then we pass to him, and unless he has something accelerated here, then he is not going to be able to beat us. Unless he has the Arise. If he has the Arise, then he is going to be able to do something, I guess. Because then he could equip the BF Sword to the Sand Soldier, attack here, get a point. And then he could play the Arise, get 2 tokens that are both accelerated, and those 2 tokens can equip these 2. And then he could swing in here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so he is actually able to win here if he has a Rise. But so, okay, it gives us GG's. Yeah, sometimes you just have to force your opponent into having it, and this time he didn't. And that gave us a win. Yeah, a small misplay there. I should have, of course, used the ability of Ezreal on the Watcher. I didn't actually think that one through, but I think still, even though I think it was also correct to just retreat the Riftbound Rex, because there's no point in letting this die to trade with something if we're gonna take care of this battlefield anyways. But yeah, fun game. And that is going to be Portal. So, oh my god, this deck is so much fun to play. Like, this combination is so silly. You can do so much with these cards. And like just like looping Beast Blows. Like, we find Beast Blows playing out for 7 energy and 2 power. And then next round we play him out again for 3 energy and 1 power. Is so powerful. And you saw at the end, like we do get some discount from the 1000 Watcher if we had the Ezreal out. Of course, I forgot it. In that case, it didn't matter. But that is something that you have to remember. Like, this deck is not a deck that just wins by itself. There is a lot of sequencing. There is a lot of important decision making that you have to make. And this deck is not perfect by any means. I'm not saying that this is like perfected, but I think this archetype is really fun. Like, the whole bounce, like the blink archetype is really fun. And the Fizz and the Arcane Shift we got 2 cards that really help this archetype in set 2. And I can't wait to see what more things we get to kind of play with this, because this archetype is so much fun. But you also see, like, now some of the important cards we have in the deck is definitely the Gust, because like our early game is not that strong in terms of our units. Like, our early game can be strong in terms of just interaction, like the Gust and the Fight or Flight, and then we can like Fizz a Gust again, and then, you know, we go from there. But we really require these cards early to kind of slow our opponents down while we get up to our big guys. And sometimes, like you saw against that Fiora, we decided to not play anything to then able to play Stupefy plus a Riptide Rex to take care of the unsung hero. And sometimes that wouldn't have worked. Like, you could have had a counter spell, or you could have just put another equipment on the unsung hero, and then that wouldn't have worked. But you kind of have to think, like, as the Fiora player, when is he ever going to build that unsung hero up more? Like, he is already on 5 might, or she's already on 5 might, which is kind of where she wants to be to get this ability off. So that is kind of what I took advantage of, like, just knowing the way, at least when I'm playing Fiora, like how Fiora players think. So yeah, but I mean, this deck is so much fun, but as I said, it does take quite a lot of, I mean, it does take skill to play, I will say that. It doesn't play itself. I'm not playing the hard bargain in the main deck, and you saw like some of those games we played today, like our opponent hard bargained us, and we were just able to counter out of it. And then sometimes we had the hard bargain, like in our previous iteration of the deck, we had the hard bargain and we couldn't even use it because our opponent had so many runes up. So I think in this deck, I actually don't like the hard bargain in the main deck. I think I'd like the retreat instead, because in the early game or mid game, the cards we are afraid of are cards like the Singularity. And in that case, we can just retreat instead. And this requires us to keep it 1 energy instead of 2. So I think I just like the retreats better. And then by the end game, we're both going to be on so many runes that the hard bargain is probably not going to be able to counter anything anyways, unless it's like a time warp or like a huge spell, which we didn't run into today. But if we do run into that, then we do run the hard bargains in the sideboard, and I think that's where I like them the most. But yeah, that is going to be the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you on the next one. But until then, take care and bye-bye.